Hey folks, it's Lindsay Huddleston here with another SPS mental health moment. Able to catch up with some great people. I've been trying to track this young man down for a while. He's been on the move with all the great things that's been happening in his career. I have Mr. Jaleel Canty, head coach at Everett High School, football that is, sitting down for SPS mental health moment. How you doing today, man?
Good. Thank you for having me, man. I know we've been supposed to get together for a long time, so I'm glad to be able to do it now.
That's okay. Before we started the recording, we were talking offline about family. Family man, a 9-month-old and a 5-year-old, huh?
Yeah. I'll have a 1-year-old in August and a 5-year-old in September. So it's crazy, but it's amazing, man. I got blessed with 2 boys, so that's what this time has given me, man. Time with them, so it's been amazing.
So what you got, a running back and a receiver or a quarterback and a receiver? What you got?
I don't know, man. Hopefully they both play defense, man. That's where the money at, man.
Yeah. Okay, you already tell them about the gate. That's good. So speaking of that, man, you had, a whirlwind. I probably want to say the last 2 seasons have been a whirlwind for you. You were able to step in and take over under now AD, then head coach Mike Smith, to step up into a role. And then, of course, what we have going on right now with the COVID. So why don't you take us back and give people a profile on who you are, and take your time and just tell us about your background and how you kind of got to where you are right now.
Okay, so I went to Everett, started in 2009, graduated in 2013. I was a part of the first undefeated 9-0 team at Everett High School. Following high school, I was able to go play football at Eastern Michigan. So I was able to play there for 2 years under Coach Ryan English and Chris Creighton. Following that, I transferred over to Ferris State, played my final 2 seasons under Coach Tony Anise. And then since then, I've been back. I was able to coach at a couple different locations, and I was able to get back home finally. So last year it was great, man. It was great to be able to get back home, get back to where I love, my community, give back. So now I'm back at home and I'm enjoying it.
Great. So when you ended up taking over as head coach, it came somewhat abruptly, right? There was some health issues going on with Mike, and from what I understand. So what was that transition like? What was it like when you got the word, and what was that like stepping into that role?
I mean, it was kind of hectic at first, just because when you don't necessarily plan for the type of responsibilities that you end up having. So it's just about adapting. So for me, it was just big on adapting, big on communication, and it was big on me deferring leadership, not trying to put everything on my shoulders, deferring it to people I had around me, being able to trust in them and have a plan together. So it was a lot of people that was able to help me out, man, and I'm thankful for that. Because last year, man, it was people who were volunteering, and they were doing so much to be able to keep us abroad, and we ended up having a pretty good season.
Right. I get a sense that you're a really humble guy, so I'm going to try to pull this out of you. What do you think, what was it about you that made them say he needs to be the head coach? Because they could have easily looked far and wide and said, let's get somebody else in here, got a young man, just a few years removed from being there, and they tap you. So what do you think it was about you, your character, and other characteristics that made you be the selection?
I mean, I can't speak for them, but I can speak for, what I got. So for me, it's just all about my drive and my will. I've always been a guy who gets done what he wants to get done. I've always been a guy who believed in others, who's inspired others. I've been a captain on any team I've been on. So just for me, it's just about, I think it was more or less them just trusting and believing in my vision, and knowing that I was really for the kids. I really was there to make a difference. I wasn't there to just only teach X's and O's. I was there to be a mentor. And like you said, I'm not farly removed. So for some people in the aspect when they're a coach, it's more of a father figure, somebody older. For me, it's almost like a big brother role. And I embrace that. I truly do. I embrace being a big brother to those guys. I embrace telling them the hard things they don't want to hear. And they trust in me and they believe in me. So it's just cool.
Wow. So when you were back at Eastern Michigan and Ferris State, did you have any expectation of eventually coaching? Because I know we all have expectations of going as high as we can in the sport. Did you think about coaching even then?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always wanted to be a high school coach. One of my best mentors, my father figures, Marcel Carruthers, who was my head coach in high school. So I mean, he's always been a mentor, and inspiration to me. So just knowing what he did for me and the guys around me and my crew, it was always something like, I want to be that guy. I want to do that for others. I want to lead them. So I come from a great lineage of coaches. So in high school, I like Marcel Crothers. I played under Johnny Jones. I played under Coach Ferg. So I come from such a great lineage, man, and I was taught so many things by so many different people. It just made it easy for me to adapt just by taking a few things from each one.
That's great. Shout out to Marcel Carruthers too. I spent a lot of time with him over at Eastern. Talk about that role you are as a big brother, and for people like you and I who spend a lot of time with young people. I mean, a lot of time. Probably their music and our music may not be that far off. Our ears a little bit more less sensitive to what they talk about compared to people older. But talk about walking that line between being someone who is right there with them, but still has to be an authoritative figure at times. Is that difficult at times? And if so, how do you manage that?
I think it can be, but like you said, the line is what's important, and knowing you can't cross that boundary. So for me, I mean, it's not just me. A lot of guys on my staff are around similar ages to me. So for us, I mean, the hard thing is the thing that we can adapt to more easier is that we understand. We understand the generational difference. I know sometimes there's such a gap in between generations, between coaches and players, that there's a lack of understanding for the reason that they are the way they are. Social media era, some people aren't adept to things like that. So I'm luckily enough to be able to understand, to be able to vibe with them, to know what they're talking about, know the lingo, So I think it's a real cool thing. But like you said, knowing that line, knowing that boundary, what to cross, what not to cross, that's what it comes down to. And then just respect. I respect all my guys; they all respect me, and I think that's how I'm able to keep that authoritative figure, just by having respect and demanding respect.
Wow, very good, very good. Before we get up to what's happening present day and what the season was going to be like, talk about what that transition was like, when you got the word that you were stepping in. I mean, you're literally going from being a coordinator to being a head coach. I mean, was it a matter of one practice you were a coordinator, the next practice you were the head coach? I mean, how did that go?
It was kind of crazy. So week one, we didn't have a head coach. We were technically, we were just trying to make it work. So going into week two, right before we played Eastern, we sat down and did an interview that Monday. They made a decision that Wednesday. And then that Friday, I was the head coach. So for me, it was knowing that once I got the interview, I was already planning. I was already planning. I already had my affirmations down, my goals down, what I wanted to do. So right away, it was, all right, I got a plan. So regardless if I get it or not, I'm prepared when the time presents itself. So it's just me. I was just planning, having stuff written down, having roles, responsibilities. So when it came on that Wednesday, it was okay. Now let's get rolling. So I think it was cool, man.
Wow, you said a word, man, that people don't speak on. You said a word that is very consistent in my work as a sports psychology consultant. You said the word affirmations. Mm. Why are you using that word? What does it mean to you? And help our listeners understand the importance of that.
Yeah, I mean, just for affirmations, for me, man, everything for me is written down. I'm a write it down type of guy. And I know affirmations, I've always been taught, write down your affirmation, okay? What you believe in, what you want to see, what you envision. So every time there's anything to do with me, I write it down. I got 2 calendars in my house with things I got to do throughout the week. I got 2 whiteboards in my house with goals I want to achieve, my affirmations. So for me, it's just all about planning, writing it down, seeing it so I can believe it.
Awesome. Where do you think, why are you fearless when it comes to that? Because so many humans are fearful of writing things down for fear of not achieving it. So where does your fearlessness come to be able to support your affirmation?
It just comes through experience. My role hasn't been the greatest. Coming out of high school, I was committed to Cincinnati as a junior. Some things fell through with the coach. I ended up not knowing where I was going that January. Went to Eastern Michigan. When I left Eastern Michigan, I didn't leave on good terms. When I got to Ferris State, I became academically ineligible. Had to come grind a year and go back to finish school and get my degree. So for me, that year I took off, that year I was academically ineligible in college, taught me so much about myself and looking in the mirror and what I needed to do to come up with a plan. And for me, I just knew that right after that year, everything was written down. Everything was goal-oriented. There was no more free willing. There was no more go with the flow. It was all about make a plan, stick with it, and believe in yourself.
Wow, man, just as you kind of just shared what happened in that, brief amount of time, you seem to share it with such strength in your words and how you present it. but normally a lot of people, you feel that's a sign of vulnerability and weakness. Why is it that you're able to embrace that and talk about it like that?
Just because the success on the other side. I just know that me going through that made me who I am today. It's allowed me to share some of my experiences. One of my best players last year didn't play his junior year in high school because of academic issues. So for me, it was like, okay, now let me come pat you on the shoulder, tell you what you need to do, okay? And I can tell you that it's still possible to get everywhere you want to go, do whatever you want to do. So for me, I just use it as a blessing. I use it as everything happens for a reason. And my reason it might be for this, to teach somebody else how they can get through it.
Yeah, it's a blessing now, but it was a burden at the time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sitting out a year, man, it was hard. It was hard. So,
Wow.
but
Well, I tell you what, man. I'm one. I have something I call the 10-minute miracle, and every morning I get up and I write my affirmations. But I appreciate you talking about the whiteboard because I want to be a little bit more visual. I'm looking at a place right now where I can put something out. So you're inspiring me as far as getting better, iron sharpens iron. So talk about again. You had the whirlwind season last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're getting ready for this season, and you get the another phone call. Tell me what that was like.
I mean, it was hard, but it's all about adapting. I try to always be optimistic. I'm still optimistic. We're still planning as if there's going to be a season. The moment the season was over, talk about planning and talk about writing things down. The thing we went with was our off-season planning. So off-season plan, we've been in the weight room, we've been conditioning, getting our guys together, created our social media accounts, posting videos of our workouts. So we just went with an off-season plan. Fundraising, we've been through 3 fundraisers already from January to March. So I mean, we were really going into the season trying to go rolling. So when everything stopped, it just gave a little bump. But we're still doing Zoom meetings every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with our guys. Position meetings to try and keep them in football. We got a big group chat where we write the guys and encourage them to do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, anything they can't do at home. Trying to keep them in high spirits. So it's a little blip, but we try to make it work the best we can, with the circumstances.
Okay, check this out. You can be quiet. You don't got to respond. I'm saying this to the Everett community. Don't be mad when Coach Canty gives some opportunities to move on to a high level to coach. Because Coach Canty is talking like a college coach. So don't be mad if y'all have success and people come looking to get him. You can be mad if another local school want him, but if some other program saying we want to bring him up, don't be mad. So with that being said, it wasn't your fault. You cool about it. But, man, you talking about next level stuff. That's what the college coach – that's when I talk to Michigan State and them other programs, everything I'm hearing from them, that's what their chief of staff talks about. That's what their support group talks about. So I guess what, you get that from your college coaching background of being around the college coaches?
I mean, yeah, and then like I said, we got a young staff, so we try and tailor our off season. We try and tailor everything to the kids, what they want. We know that social media is a big factor. So what's the first thing we did? Social media, right? We posted videos of them working out for them to share, them to repost. Everybody want to feel themselves. They like that dopamine, So for us, that's one of the first things we tailor to it. And the second thing is we know in order to be good in the season, got to do the off season. So weight room conditioning, getting our guys together around each other, building that camaraderie was high on our priority list. So we just, trying to do things the right way. And of course, we follow the blueprint of the guys who've done it the right way. So, I mean, some of my guys I look at college, I look at Saban, I looked at D'Antonio, I looked at Harbaugh, all the guys. And like I said, I played for Coach Anise, who's got the best winning percentage in college football. So I know some of his methods are amazing. So it's just about, picking up what I can and actively learning, always in the pursuit of learning. So that's all I do.
Awesome. Do you get pushback? I mean, as a head coach, your word is law, but do you get pushback when you come with this extremely organized and almost relentless type approach, and if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's always going to be pushback just because some kids aren't accustomed to it. So the initial plan, yep. So the initial time we do it, they got to get used to it. So the guys after them can be accustomed to the way things are ran. So I mean, it was a hard burden on our seniors last year, who didn't have me for 2-3 years, and then all of a sudden we run things like this. So I mean, I think something every new coach deals with. but it's just about getting the guys to believe in you so the guys after them are already accustomed and understand the way you want the program to be ran.
Woo, look, man, you got my head spinning right now, and that's a good thing, man. Man, I can really appreciate what you're talking about. Well, let's talk about with the time that we have, and especially with the direct line of communication you have to your players in the Everett community. You know, what kind of inspiring message can you give as it relates to us managing and getting through this COVID-19, and what things can be like when we get some form of normalcy going forward?
As far as inspiring, man, I tell my guys all the time, I always talk about my optimistic thinking, you know, and I tell them to just really take this time to look at yourself in the mirror. Take this time as a blessing. Take this time to learn. Take this time to do something you haven't done before, to make a call that you haven't made. You know, I've called former teammates from 5 years ago that I haven't talked to just to say, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Check on your family. Good, you know? So take this time to envision what you want to do in life, to see yourself 5 years, 10 years. I know a lot of our kids in this generation have troubles visualizing for the future. So I always tell my guys, 5 years, 10 years, what do you want to do? If you don't know, go think about it, come back and tell me. So use this. So I use this time for them just to inspire them to look forward and try and think of life after this and knowing that we'll get through it.
Wow, man. Well, look, I'm looking at a space on my wall for my whiteboard to go. I'm inspired. You got me going too. Well, it's amazing that with us trying to catch up earlier in the year and it just didn't come together, that we're able to have this conversation on this platform in the background of such a critical time in the world, and for you to be able to share a message that's so inspiring. My only hope is that anyone who hears this can be inspired by what you do. So, any last words before we sign off?
I just want to say, man, I appreciate you for having me. I've been watching some of your videos. I watched KC and Coach Jones and some of those videos, man. So I really love what you're doing. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and I'll continue to be tuned in.
Okay, I appreciate that too. And the goal is that when we clear all this stuff up, I can get over there and not only support the Everett basketball program, but support the football program too, and all the great things you guys got.
That's love.
All right, we got Coach Jaleel Canty doing great things with Everett High School here on this SPS Mental Health Moment. Want to wish you the best of luck. We'll catch up on the other side, okay?
Thank you, man. Take it easy.
You are welcome.